This is getting pretty down to the wire, guys. I'm actually shocked it's happening, but I feel like it's lagging on for too long. Where if Trump just evades this for another few months and nothing happens, it's gonna seem very arbitrary to the justice system, and more people who see Trump do this who might feel they can get elected and pull the same stunt that Trump did, except to a lesser extent. Trump obviously is not as mask off as DeSantis, but um, Trump's actions, I guess, were more like, secretive, but like you see DeSantis literally having Nazis in his circle, so supposedly. Anyways, um, we should prepare for mugshots, hopefully, of the people that were responsible with helping Trump. Obviously, we're never going to see uh, GOP leaders that helped Trump, and I doubt we're going to see like major white supremacists getting in trouble, like the Oath Keepers. I think they got away with that. Oh, by the way, no camera, because quick article read before I gotta go to work. Okay, Donald Trump's legal web has grown more tangled than ever. The former president is facing 91 criminal charges across four jurisdictions: Georgia, Florida, New York, and the District of Columbia. He has two trial dates set up for 2024 so far, and all this is unfolding as he runs for the presidency again. The cases involving allegations of attempted election theft, mishandling classified documents, and hush money payments have grown so sprawling that it's tough for anyone but the most die-hard political obsessive to follow them in detail. But in some the stakes for our democracy and for Trump personally are higher than others. The two prosecutors, after Trump's efforts to overturn Joe Biden's 2020 victory in D.C. and Georgia, both came from the possibility of serious criminal penalties. They also have enormous implications for the future of the American elections and for whether Trump or someone like him will respect the results next time around. Probably not if they're doing what Trump's doing, or to a lesser extent, even to a lesser extent, it would still be a yes. The classified documents in prosecution in Florida is also significant in that it involves sensitive, intelligent material. However, prosecutors have presented no evidence that this sensitive material leaked out from Trump's possession. The prosecution is mainly about his efforts to defy the government's demands that he return the documents. Then, in the New York case, Trump is charged with falsifying business records related to hush money payments he'd made. The core violation here is basically that the Trump organization logged these payments improperly as legal expenses. This is not the highest stakes issue in the world. It's a lot to keep track of. So, in this guide, we'll walk through the charges and potentially sentences in each prosecution in more detail. And we've ranked the indictments in order of importance based on the stakes and potential implications of each case. 1. Federal 2020 election case, District of Columbia. How important is this indictment? Very important. As Vox's Nicole Naria previously explained, this case, quote, will legally define what a politician is able to do to reverse a defeat, end quote. The outcome of this case could have major implications for the 2024 election and every race that follows. If Trump isn't held accountable for the actions he took on January 6th and leading up to it, he and others could try to pull the same schemes in the future. And as I reiterate, even to a lesser extent, even if Trump doesn't steal classified documents, the election, like, I don't know, I'm wondering if just like, I'm very skeptical that someone could pull this off to a lesser extent, but I feel it's something to watch out for. Ultimately, this case was a significant bearer on the future of the U.S. democracy. Number of charges. 4 felony counts. They include 1. Charge of conspiracy to defraud the United States, which includes plotting to overturn the result in 2020 election. 2. Conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding, including plotting to prevent 2020 election certification. 3. Obstruction of an attempt to obstruct an official proceeding, which includes actually blocking the certification of the 2020 election results. 4. Conspiracy against rights, which includes a plan to deprive someone of a constitutional right. In this case, that is the ability to vote. Potential jail time per count. These are maximum sentences that are likely to be imposed. Conspiracy to defraud the United States, 5. Conspiracy to obstruct official proceedings, 20 years. Obstruction of official proceedings, 20 years. Conspiracy against the right to vote, 10 years. Well, that's weird. I would give that more. Alright. 2. Georgia election indictment. How important is this indictment? Very important. Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis accused Trump and several of his associates of a sprawling racketeering conspiracy related to their efforts to overturn Biden's win in the state. In contrast to the federal election indictment, where Trump is the only one charged so far, but eventually we will see mugshots indefinitely. Okay, here, 18 others here were also charged for participating in this alleged conspiracy. They include famous names like Rudy Giuliani and former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, notorious Trump lawyers like John Eastman and Sidney Powell, obviously, and lower-level Georgia players. Significantly, if Trump wins the presidency again in 2024, he would not be able to thwart this prosecution since it is being carried out not be able. Okay, good. Since it's being carried out under state law. Number of charges, 13 felony counts. They are 1 count of violating the Georgia RICO, Racketeering, Influencing, and Corruption Organization Act, which is basically a catch-all charge for a larger conspiracy to overturn the outcome. 3 counts of solicitation of violation of oath by a public officer, which are about Trump's attempts to convince Georgia officials to overturn the results. What? 1 count of conspiracy to impersonating a public officer. Whoa. What? Wait a second. That's crazy. 2 counts of conspiracy to commit forgery. 2 counts of conspiracy to commit false statements in writings. 1 count of conspiracy to commit filing false documents. 1 count of filing false documents. 2 counts of making false statements in writings. Most of these counts relate to the Trump campaign's effort to put together a slate of alternative electors from Georgia who would purport to cast electoral votes for Trump rather than the actual winner, Biden. Trump's Georgia indictment briefly explained. Potential jail time per count. There are maximum sentences that are unlikely to be imposed. Oh, jeez. Violating the Georgia RICO Act, 20 years. Solicitation of violating an oath by a public officer, 3 years. Conspiracy to commit impersonating a public officer, 2.5 years. Okay. Oh, filing false documents. Yeah, I can see that being 10 years. Obviously, you can see that. Assuming you're not just listening. Okay. Federal documents case, Florida. How important is this indictment? Important. Important, obviously. This case centers on a president's ability to endanger the country's national security by taking and mishandling classified documents after leaving office. Documents that Trump kept addressed everything from U.S. nuclear program to the country's defense and weapons capabilities to how America could respond in the face of a possible attack. Additionally, the case looks at how Trump obstructed FBI efforts to take back the documents. Number of charges, 40 felony counts. They include 32 counts of willful retention of national defense information, which includes keeping classified documents related to military activities and nuclear weapons. Holy shit. 2. 1 count of conspiracy to obstruct justice, which includes Trump working with an aide to hold on to classified documents and hide them from a grand jury. 1 count of withholding a document or record from an official proceeding, which included effort to hide documents from a grand jury. 1 count of concealing a document in a federal investigation, which included covering up Trump's ongoing possession of classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. one count of scheming to conceal information the government is seeking, which includes hiding the fact that Trump still possessed classified documents, one count of making false statements, which includes directing his attorney to lie about returning all the classified documents in his possession, two counts of altering, destroying, or concealing information and government is seeking, which includes plans to delete security footage. Potential jail time per count. These are the maximum sentences that are unlikely to be imposed. Willful retention, 10 years. Conspiracy to obstruct justice, 20 years. Well, this seems pretty basic amount of time. Scheme to conceal. Okay. Just in general. 5 years. Making false statement to the U.S. government is 5 years. Okay. I guess they are just people. Just, I don't get it. Whatever. Alright. 4. New York State case related to hush money to Stormy Daniels. How important is this indictment? Less important. This case is significant for the ways it addressed alleged wrongdoing by Trump, but it has fewer sweeping implications than the other indictments. It essentially highlights Trump's recurring lies and falsehoods, but doesn't really have the same broader democracy or national security stakes that the other cases have. Primarily, it centers on efforts by Trump to conceal hush money that was paid to porn actress Stormy Daniels so she wouldn't go public about the affair. Number of charges, 34 felony counts. All accounts are centered on the falsifying business records, which Trump is accused of doing to cover up the hush money payments to Daniels. Potential jail time per count, unlikely. It's just 4 years, dude. Okay. All of this leads to two big questions. Will these indictments derail Trump's presidential bid, and do they mean Trump's going to jail? So, again, as this article already points out, if they wait any longer, it'll just seem arbitrary, and they don't want to incite a riot by Trump supporters, so they have to do this quick and concisely, so they can deal with the security on Trump and not have to deal with the security on the supporters at the same time, you know? I think that would be the biggest issue in terms of, like, making this very snappy. What do the 4 indictments mean for Trump's chances of becoming president again? Amid all this, Trump is running for president again and facing several challengers in the Republican primary. He retains a massive poll lead. These multiple indictments haven't hurt him just yet. If anything, they've helped, as GOP voters have rallied around him. Of course. Currently, Trump New York trial is scheduled for March 25th, 2024, and is... What? Wow. So this is just being expanded. You know, Trump should already honestly be in jail by now, but he's got, like, this immunity in some way. Ugh, son of a bitch. And his Florida trial is scheduled for May 20th, 2024, unless one of his challengers surges. Before then, he could have the nomination mostly wrapped up before either trial begins. Then, even if he's found guilty or even if he's jailed, he technically wouldn't be disqualified from taking office. Yes, he could do this in jail, actually. If he wins a GOP nomination, he'll still be on the ballot and in the general election, so only the voters can stop Trump from becoming president again. Will Trump go to prison? How long could his sentence be? The technical maximum sentence Trump could face if convicted of everything he's been charged with is absurdly high, hundreds of years. But in practice, such high sentences are almost never given, yet, though we're a long way off from Trump actually being behind bars, he really is in danger of getting serious time. His eventual sentence, if he is convicted, will depend on several factors in each jurisdiction. None more important than whether the juries will even convict him. The strength of each case and the politics of each area could well influence this. Given political polarization, winning a conviction may well be easier in D.C. and New York than the mostly conservative area of Florida, where he will be tried. Recall, it only takes one holdout juror to block a conviction. What? Okay. Then, if he is convicted, what sentence will the judge hand down? Judges have broad discretion to hand down a sentence that they feel is appropriate. Judge Tanya Chutkan of D.C. will hear the federal case against Trump for trying to steal the 2020 election, and she has been the toughest sentencer for January 6 rioters, suggesting she may lean more toward the maximum if the chance. Whoa, nice. Meanwhile, Judge Eileen Cannon of Florida has the documents case, and she is a Trump appointee who has already arguably stretched the law to try and help him out. A conviction in her courtroom could be on the lighter side. Once he's sentenced, will higher court judge rescue him on appeal? Some of the cases against him use novel legal reason that hasn't been tested before. So far, the Florida case appears the clearest and best ground and precedent. While the election cases are more novel, no president has tried to do what Trump did before. After all, and the New York hush money case has been somewhat legally controversial, if Trump is convicted, his eventual fate may end up in the Supreme Court. Finally, any Trump sentence could be scuttled if he wins the presidency. If Trump is back in power, he would likely use executive power to end the federal prosecution against him, the D.C. and Florida ones, and perhaps even pardon himself. He could not end the state prosecutions, the Georgia and New York ones, but if he wins the presidency, he could likely put off serving prison time until after his term concludes. So again, it's the voters who ultimately have the power to maximize or minimize Trump's chances of going to prison. Holy shit. I mean, considering he should have already been in prison by now, but the political immunity pretty much prevents this. This is just literally the voters have to get this guy out. But hopefully there's like some Republican that those voters can vote for that isn't Trump and not DeSantis. Like, I'm not saying anyone but Trump or DeSantis. I mean, but like that just sounds so stupid to say. That's like saying, "Oh, you can't just be like vote anyone but Hitler." Not that I'm comparing Trump to Hitler, but seriously, these two fascists are basically the loudest voices there is in the Republican field. And I mean, obviously, we gotta focus our energy on trying to get Trump out. So seriously. Alright, guys. Peace.